So, just as every business person carries a business card, as an artist, you're in the position of having a second tier of promotion that is unique to your industry. I'm, of course, talking about an indispensable tool called your portfolio, and it should be given as much attention and care as anything you can think of in your professional life. It should be constantly thought about and updated, refined, and most importantly, always in circulation. As amazing as it may seem, lots of photographers and artists create beautiful portfolios, but those books never see the light of day. They spend hours and hours meticulously curating their images, but then delegate them to a shelf where they occasionally look at it or drag it out when a friend stops over for drinks. If you're not walking into a meeting a few times a week with your portfolio, or you're not on a first name basis with your FedEx driver who's stopping in to deliver it to a remote client, then you need to adjust your plan of attack. Unseen, untold is unsold. I always thought that was a pretty clever line. That was the motto up on the wall at the studio where I got my first job as an assistant. I was essentially a janitor pushing a broom around a big production house. But years later, at the height of my commercial assignment career, I had 6 portfolios in constant circulation around the country. So the fact that I recall that clever little saying should indicate the impression it had on me. Anyway, at that very successful studio, the salesmen were considered as important, actually, maybe even more important than the photographers. And why not? If the jobs weren't coming in, there'd be no reason to have the photographers. All right, let's talk about what makes a great portfolio, specifically what you should put in your portfolio, how big your portfolio should be, and how it should be presented. Let's start by looking at 3 of my most successful commercial images, and we'll see if you can pin down the point I'm trying to make here. On their own, each is a really fine example of work coming out of my studio. All 3 are images I'm proud of, and all 3 should be in my portfolio, but not the same portfolio. If you walked into a meeting with a collection this unrelated, the only thing you're going to be assured of is confusing the viewer. You can't expect an art director to crawl inside your head and look at all the individual compartments of your incredible creativity. Chances are he or she's not even going to get what you're trying to say anyway. It's like with my picture of the broken egg. I was trying to show a really good use of just light and shadow, just a technical exercise. But I actually had an art director one time ask me, "Oh, did you shoot this for the National Egg Association?" And I thought to myself, yeah, that's just what the National Egg Association was looking for, a picture of a smashed broken egg. Anyway, I've digressed. The point is, if your portfolio doesn't have some kind of common thread, it's going to be confusing and not be a book to be remembered. Showing an art director a picture of a Hawaiian waterfall, a broken egg, and a really cool communication still life, well, that's going to help him pass some time in his routine. But when you walk out the door, he's not even going to remember your name. It doesn't matter how proud you are of your images. Unless you learn to edit and coherently arrange your book, you're going to be getting nowhere. The sad reality is, at least for now, until you're in the Museum of Modern Art, get used to being the guy who works the camera. The end product, though, what you're trying to get remembered is your images. That's all you should worry about, getting people to remember your portfolio, not you. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have 20 pictures of waterfalls or eggs shot in every conceivable composition, but your images should flow together like a book. There should be some connection when you turn the page to the image before it. Even more important is building a portfolio that your potential client can relate to, images that help him make the connection between your vision and the product that he or she makes or represents. Everyone would enjoy looking at pictures of Hawaii, but if he's in the truck manufacturing business, he's not going to get the connection. Whether your presentation is in person or via remote meeting or a portfolio drop off, make sure you have a rehearsed dialogue, not only describing every picture, but verbally explaining how his or her product could be easily substituted for what you're showing them. And if in fact your presentation is in person, make it exciting. Make it the highlight of your client's day. Don't forget, no matter how great their job is, they're in the same place all the time, day after day. That's a golden opportunity for you to be a breath of fresh air. You can come in and take them on a magical journey via your images. Don't be boring. Be exciting. Don't just stand there and turn the pages. Learn to talk about your pictures. Be relaxed. Practice your dialogue. Become knowledgeable about what you're talking about and about your images. Make it so that they realize if they hire you, working with you is going to be fun. It's going to be a great opportunity for them. Okay, so let's look at three images that you might think are unrelated, but they do in fact belong in the same portfolio. Well, the first thing someone is going to notice about this photographer is he's taken everyday stuff and made it exciting. Right away, the art director is going to start thinking, God, if this guy can make a stethoscope look cool, I bet he can do something with our client who makes bolts and screws. He's also going to see that you can handle complicated scenarios. And with the right amount of dialogue and talking about the production of your images is going to make him feel comfortable, and he's going to trust you with an important client. And that's how it works. That's how you get the job, and that's how you make money in this business. The main thing you have to remember is to make the distinction between pictures you might happen to like and pictures that are going to get you work. We've all shot pretty pictures that have special meaning to us, but unless a potential client can look at your picture and superimpose what he's got to sell in your vision, there's no connection going to be made. He's not going to remember you. It's going to be a waste of time. You'll be forgotten. I've emphasized in some of my other videos the rationale for shooting samples specifically tailored for that presentation. Obviously, if you're going after a coffee account, don't you think it would make sense to shoot some still lifes of coffee? So when you brought the pictures in, the people could say, hey, he knows how to shoot coffee. As you move along in your career and start to evolve, you're going to accumulate an impressive library of images. This in turn will allow you to custom tailor your portfolio for each unique presentation. Develop a filing system that you're comfortable with. Standardize on your samples so that they have a consistent look. Every time you get a phone call, you don't want to be scrambling around making prints or making decisions that if you just made them once correctly, you would never have to do it again. It's going to be a much more efficient use of your time, and it's going to allow you to get your book out the door faster and out the door more times, which is going to translate to more people seeing your work, which is obviously what you want. Look, you've always got to remember one thing. As a photographer, you're just another cog in a very big wheel. When it comes to selling something or producing an ad, there's copywriters, there's account executives, there's art directors, there's production coordinators, there's stylists, sometimes there's animal handlers, there's models, and at the end of the day, there's really only one person who matters, and that's the client. One of the most important things to a client is that you're dependable and that you don't come with a lot of baggage. No one is interested in hiring somebody who has to have their hand held. Think comfort level. Once you get the job, everybody expects things to run super smoothly. All right, so how big should your portfolio be? How long should your presentation last? If it's a video presentation, how long should it run? I guess like everything, there's a million answers to all of those topics. But the short answer would be your presentations should be long enough that it doesn't seem like you've only got a few images under your belt, and it should be short and concise enough that the people don't drift off, fall asleep, or you lose their attention. So you got to strike a balance somewhere in there. Me personally, I would say my average printed portfolio was around 20 images. I will mention this important note, and that is that if you have horizontal and vertical images, keep the flipping back and forth to a minimum. That's very annoying and distracting. People don't like that. The video portfolio movies that I've made are usually between 3 and 5 minutes. That seems to be the expected time you can rely on someone to pay full attention. No matter what form your presentations take, put a lot of thought into them. Spare no expense, or better yet, figure out a way to make it look like you spared no expense. I mean, it stands to reason. If someone's holding your portfolio in their hands, obviously you want them to be thinking, wow, this is stunning. This guy is really together. He's a pro. I want to work with him. If your primary means of promotion is your website, well, it's got to be a home run from start to finish. And it's got to be super easy to navigate. It also has to load quickly, which, believe it or not, in this day and age, I don't know why this would be, but a lot of them load very slowly. That is super annoying. If you have a bio or an artist statement, which of course you should, keep the rambling, ethereal philosophizing to a minimum. People are looking for great photographers, not Gandhi. Never forget, for better or worse, we now live in a society that bombards people with visual communication. It takes a very unique approach to really stand out and be remembered. But, and this is a positive thing, there's a lot of crap out there. Just look at music videos. Don't fall into the trap of knocking off someone else's idea. Remember, you're supposed to be creative, and theoretically, you should be able to generate award winning ideas one after another. I mean, I'm being a little sarcastic here. If only it was that easy, which it isn't. But you get my point. Don't be a follower, be an innovator. You'll find, especially when doing a presentation in person, that the time you spend showing your work will depend largely on how engaged you can make the client. Some will just stand there as if in a trance. As you flip through your work, the next thing you know, you'll be out in the parking lot and you'll think to yourself, well, that didn't go great. Others will want to talk to you about every image as though they were writing your biography. As with most things in this business, it's pretty darn hard to read every situation and figure out what's the magic formula to get a client to pull the trigger on you. I've had people look at my work, give me the most genuine, heartfelt compliments as though I was the second coming of the Messiah, and I'd never hear from them. Then there'd be other times that walking out of the meeting, I'd be thinking to myself, why did I even waste the gas money to come over here only to get a call the next morning with a giant assignment? Look, here's the reality of the situation. You're going to get rejected a lot. I mean, a real lot. I mean, like 20 to 1 a lot. But you know what? On the other side of the coin, it does build character. And when you do land an assignment, it's going to be one of life's great highs. There really is nothing like the feeling of knowing that someone is willing to pay you real, actual money for your talent. That's a very cool thing about being a professional artist. When you make money, it's because of something you and you alone created. There aren't a lot of professions that are like that, and I can assure you it's a feeling very few people walking down the street are ever going to experience in their entire life.